There's a house at the very end of my neighborhood, old, abandoned, and surrounded by overgrown weeds that seem to move even when there's no wind. People here don't talk about it much, they just avoid it. But I've always been the kind of person who needs to see things for myself. When I was a kid, my parents warned me, never go near that house. People who enter don't come back the same. I thought it was just one of those ghost stories meant to scare kids. But as I got older, the curiosity never went away. Last month, the house was sold. No one saw the buyers, but one night I noticed a single light flickering in one of the windows, and something inside me whispered, "Go." So I did. It was a cold evening when I finally decided to step through the broken gate. The metal creaked under my touch. The air felt heavy, thick, like it was pressing against my chest. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. When I pushed it open, a wave of cold air hit my face, and the smell of old wood, dust, and something else, something rotten. The hallway was dark, except for the faint glow from that same window I'd seen earlier. Every step I took made the floorboards groan like they were alive. The house had this feeling, like it was watching me. Then I heard it, a whisper, faint, coming from upstairs. "Why did you come back?" I froze. The voice wasn't angry, it sounded sad. But I was alone. I knew I was alone. I climbed the stairs slowly, the light growing dimmer the higher I went. At the top was a long hallway with several doors. Every door was closed except one at the very end. The door was slightly open, and from inside came a soft humming sound, like a lullaby. I pushed the door gently. Inside was a child's room. Old toys scattered on the floor, a broken rocking chair, and a music box still turning by itself, even though there was no key. And on the wall, written in what looked like dried blood, were the words, "She never left." Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind me. The music stopped. Silence. Then, from the corner of the room, the rocking chair began to move on its own. Slowly. Back and forth. Back and forth. And then I saw her. A little girl, sitting in the chair, her face pale and eyes completely black. Her head tilted slightly as she whispered, "You shouldn't be here." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it echo in my ears. I stumbled backwards, trying to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. When I turned around again, she was standing right in front of me. Her cold hand touched my arm, and instantly I felt it. Every memory, every emotion, every thought being pulled from me like she was draining my soul. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, it was morning. I was lying outside the house, on the front steps. The sun was shining, the birds were singing. It was as if nothing had happened. But when I looked down at my arm, I saw it. A small, dark handprint burned into my skin. I ran home and tried to tell my neighbor what happened. He looked at me silently and said, "That house has been empty for 50 years. The girl who lived there died in a fire. No one's been inside since." I didn't believe him at first, until that night when I looked out my window and saw her standing at the end of my street. Same black eyes, same pale face, just staring at me. Now, every night at exactly 3 a.m., I hear the music box playing again, softly, slowly, getting closer, and I know she's coming back for me. Have you ever heard of a city that doesn't appear on any map? A place that seems to exist only for those who are meant to find it? I never believed in such things until the night I got that message. It was 2 a.m. when my phone lit up with an email from an unknown sender. The subject line said, "Urgent job offer." Inside, there was just one short line. "We're hiring at the Darkville Timber Factory. High salary, free housing. Be here tomorrow morning." No contact number, no name. Just a location I couldn't find anywhere online. At first, I thought it was a scam, but I'd been unemployed for months, desperate for work. So I packed a small bag and caught the earliest bus heading north. The ride was unsettling. The farther we went, the thicker the fog became. The trees looked lifeless, and even the other passengers grew silent, their faces pale under the flickering bus lights. When we finally stopped, the driver turned to me and whispered, "End of the line. Darkville." When I stepped off the bus, a cold wind cut through me. The city looked abandoned. Buildings half collapsed, windows boarded up, streetlights buzzing with weak yellow light. The air smelled of rust and damp wood. Still, I followed the map to the factory. It was massive, built from blackened stone and old iron gates. I knocked once. A tall, thin man opened the door. His eyes were sunken, his skin pale as chalk. He said quietly, "You're the new worker? Follow me, and whatever you do, never stay here past midnight." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. My room was inside the factory itself, a small space with cracked walls and the smell of mold. That first night, I couldn't sleep. At exactly 12 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, heavy. Then a whisper. "Wasim." My heart nearly stopped. I grabbed my phone to turn on the flashlight, but the screen was dead, battery gone. When I peered through the door crack, the hallway was empty. But when I turned around, I saw words carved freshly into the wall behind me. "Do not stay after midnight." The next morning, I confronted the thin man. He looked at me for a long moment and said, "I warned you. Those who stay change." Every night after that, things got worse. The machines started running by themselves. Tools moved without anyone touching them. And the whispers grew louder, coming from the vents, the walls, even from my own reflection. By the fifth night, most of the workers were gone. Their bunks still had their clothes, their food, their wallets, everything except them. When I asked where they'd gone, he just said, "They're still here." That night, the power went out completely. I sat in darkness, clutching my flashlight. At 11:45 p.m., I heard something moving in the corridor. Slow, dragging footsteps. Then I saw him, a tall figure wearing a wooden mask, his body twitching unnaturally. Every breath sounded like a broken machine. He stepped closer and closer until he whispered in a voice that wasn't human, "You belong to us now." I ran, down endless corridors that twisted and changed behind me. No matter which door I opened, I found myself back in the same hallway. And then darkness. When I woke up, I was in a white room on a metal bed. Standing over me was the same pale man from before. He smiled and said, "Congratulations! You've been officially accepted into Darkville." I looked around and froze. Rows of beds filled the room, each one holding a motionless body. Their eyes were open, staring at the ceiling, lifeless.
That's when I understood. Darkville wasn't a city. It was a trap. A place that collects the souls of those who come looking for work or hope. Now I'm still here. The clock never moves past 11:59, and every time I try to leave, I end up right where I started, back at the factory doors. And every night, the whispers return. So, if you ever get a job offer from a place you've never heard of, don't go. Some cities don't exist on any map, and some jobs never end.
I've never believed in ghosts, at least not until that night. It was around 2:30 a.m., and I was driving home from a late shift. The roads were empty, the streetlights flickering in and out like they couldn't decide whether to stay on or off. I was tired, almost dozing, when I saw her. A figure, standing in the middle of the road. A woman. White dress flowing, long hair covering her face. She didn't move as I slowed down, didn't even flinch when my headlights hit her. I slammed the brakes, heart pounding, but when I stepped out of the car, she was gone. I shook my head. Probably just a trick of the light, I told myself. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me. A week later, I heard the story from a coworker. People say she appears late at night, the woman in white. If you see her, you'll never forget it. They said she wanders the streets near the old highway, always alone. Some people reported seeing her waving silently or crying. But the moment you look too closely, she disappears. And those who chase after her never return the same. I laughed. Of course I laughed. But curiosity got the better of me. A few nights later, I decided to drive that same stretch of road. It was past midnight, fog settling low over the asphalt. And there she was, standing under a broken streetlight, white dress glowing in the fog. I stopped the car again, heart racing. This time, I watched her, and I saw her face. Pale, eyes completely black, mouth stretched into a silent scream. I couldn't move. And then slowly, she began walking toward me. Not running, not hurrying, just walking. Closer, closer. I tried to start the car. Nothing. The engine wouldn't turn over, and as she approached the front of the car, I could feel the temperature drop. The air was freezing, and I could see my breath forming mist. She stopped right in front of me. I swear I felt her eyes inside my soul. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. And then the world tilted. Everything around me blurred, twisted. I was outside myself, watching my own terrified body trembling behind the wheel. And just as suddenly as she appeared, she was gone. The fog lifted, the engine roared to life. I drove home without looking back, my hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the wheel. I thought it was over, but it wasn't. The next morning, I woke up to a note on my doorstep. No handwriting, no paper, just 3 words scrawled in a red that looked like blood. I saw you. Now, every time I drive late at night, I check the rearview mirror. I know she's out there, watching, waiting. Some nights, I feel her standing right behind my car, white dress glowing in the shadows. And I know if I ever stop for her, I might never drive home again. So if you're ever driving late at night and you see a woman in white, do not stop. Do not look too long. And for the love of God, do not follow her. Because the woman in white doesn't like visitors.
Our story is over for today. If you watched the video to the end, then you are a true follower of my channel. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive all that is new. Until next time.